I never thought I would see you again. I had convinced myself that our time had passed, that the love we once shared had been buried beneath years of silence and broken promises. I had moved on, or so I told myself. I had rebuilt my life after we parted ways, piece by piece, trying to erase the memory of us, of the days when everything seemed perfect. But as it often goes with the things you try hardest to forget, they linger. They stay with you in quiet moments, in the small, unremarkable corners of your mind, and they haunt you when you least expect it. I was sitting in my favorite cafe, the one I had been visiting every morning for years, my mind drifting aimlessly over the pages of my book when I saw you. At first, I didn't recognize you. You had changed. Your hair a little shorter, your face a little older, the lines of experience and time etched into your features. But when your eyes met mine across the crowded room, I felt that familiar pull, that electric charge that I hadn't realized I still carried for you. It took me a moment to gather my thoughts. I blinked, trying to convince myself that this was some trick of the light, that maybe I had imagined it. But as I saw you stand up, your presence unmistakable, I knew it was real. You were here, in the same cafe, in the same city where we had spent so many hours together all those years ago. I had promised myself that if we ever crossed paths again, I would be indifferent. I would be strong enough to walk past you without a second glance, without feeling the ache in my chest, without remembering the way we had once been. But as you walked toward me, every promise I made to myself evaporated. The years between us melted away, and in that instant, all I could see was the past. The laughter, the whispered secrets, the shared moments that had once made me believe that love could conquer everything. Hi, you said, your voice the same as I remembered, soft, warm, yet laced with a tinge of uncertainty. I smiled, but it felt forced. Hey, I replied, my throat tight with emotion. It's been a long time. You sat down across from me, the space between us heavy with unspoken words. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't thought about what would happen if we ever saw each other again. In my mind, I had always kept the door closed, sealed shut by the pain of our parting. But now, in your presence, that door was wide open again, and I could feel everything rushing back. The good, the bad, the heartbreak. I didn't expect to run into you like this, you said, your eyes searching mine, as if looking for some sign of recognition. And maybe you were right to search because part of me didn't know who I was anymore. Part of me had let go, but the other part, the part that still loved you, still remembered us, was clawing its way to the surface. Neither did I replied, trying to sound casual, though my heart was racing in my chest. What are you doing here? I didn't think I'd ever see you again. You chuckled softly, though it lacked the warmth I remembered. I live here now. I moved back about a year ago. You? I never left, same old routine, I said, offering a small smile. It was true. My life had stayed pretty much the same, just with the absence of you. Everything felt like it had been paused, waiting for something to change, but that something never came. Until now. There was a long pause. Neither of us spoke, but the silence was different this time. It wasn't comfortable, like it used to be, when we could sit in silence and still feel at ease. This silence was heavy, laden with all the years we had spent apart, the things we had left unsaid, the things we hadn't been able to face. You look good, you said after a while, your voice quiet, almost shy. It was a simple compliment, but it cut through the tension, the rawness of the moment. Thanks, I murmured, self-conscious suddenly, as if you hadn't been in my life for so long. You do too. I guess time's been kind to both of us. You smiled, but it didn't reach your eyes. There was something else there, something I couldn't quite place. Regret? Longing? Or maybe it was just the weight of the past that we couldn't escape. Do you want to talk about it? You asked, your voice almost tentative. I was taken aback by the question. Talk about what? About us? About what happened? About the years of silence, of unanswered questions, of pain? I had spent so much time avoiding the past, burying it beneath layers of work, friends, distractions. But now, sitting here across from you with the ghost of everything we had shared hanging in the air, I didn't know how to avoid it anymore. I don't know, I said quietly, my fingers tracing the rim of my coffee cup. I don't even know where to start. I've thought about you a lot, you said, your words hesitant but honest. I don't expect things to go back to the way they were, but I've missed you. I've missed us. And I regret how things ended. The weight of your words hit me like a physical blow. Regret. You regretted it. I had spent so many years wondering if you had ever felt the same way, if you had ever regretted how we had parted. I had told myself that it didn't matter, that I had moved on, that it was better to leave the past behind. But hearing you say it now, hearing you admit that you missed me, missed us, made something inside me shift. I regret it too, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I regret how we left things, how I left things, but I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to make things right. You nodded, your gaze softening. I didn't either. I think we both made mistakes and neither of us knew how to find our way back. The truth of it hit me harder than I expected. We had both made mistakes, but we had both been too proud to admit it, too afraid of vulnerability, of risking the little we had left. And so we had let it slip away piece by piece until it was nothing but a memory, a ghost that haunted the space between us. But now, sitting here with you, I realized that maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe we could find a way back, or maybe we couldn't. Maybe the damage was too great, the time apart too long. But the pull between us was undeniable, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. So what happens now? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You leaned back in your chair, your fingers drumming lightly on the table. I don't know, you admitted, but I'm willing to try, if you are. The words hung between us like a delicate thread, fragile but full of possibility. There was so much we hadn't said, so much we still needed to address. But in that moment, all I could think about was the fact that we were here. We were talking. We were finally acknowledging the past, the hurt, the love that had been buried for so long. I don't know what this means, I said, feeling the uncertainty creep in. But I don't want to leave things unsaid anymore. I don't want to wonder what might have been. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to believe that maybe we could fix what had been broken, that maybe we could start again. It wouldn't be easy. It couldn't be. There were too many wounds, too much pain, too many years of silence. But maybe, just maybe, it was worth trying. You won't regret this, you said softly, as if you were trying to reassure both of us. I'm not asking for everything. I just want a chance. And for the first time in a long time, I believed you. I believed that maybe we could find our way back, that maybe after all these years we still had a future together. As we sat there, in that small cafe, surrounded by the noise of the world, I realized that the reunion wasn't just about us reconnecting. It was about finally acknowledging the love we had lost, the regrets we had buried, and the possibility that we could rebuild what had once been shattered. And so we took the first step together into a future that was uncertain but full of hope. The days after our reunion felt like a delicate dance. One step forward, two steps back. We had opened the door to a conversation that had been sealed for so long, but neither of us knew what lay on the other side. The weight of our history loomed over us, a constant reminder that nothing would ever be as simple as it once was. And yet, the air between us felt different. The tension that had once pulled us apart now seemed to be drawing us closer, like a magnet. But I knew this wasn't going to be easy. We met a few more times after that day in the cafe, each encounter tinged with uncertainty and anticipation. I had never felt so vulnerable. Every word, every gesture felt like a test. Could we navigate the past? Could we build something new from the rubble of what we had once shared? Or were we doomed to repeat the same mistakes? The first conversation we had after our reunion was a quiet one. We sat on the same bench where we had spent countless hours during our first months together, when everything had felt effortless. The sun had just begun to set, casting a golden light across the park. The air was cool, and the leaves rustled gently in the breeze as though the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for us to speak. I've missed this, you said, your voice low, almost wistful, as you looked out over the park. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to reach for you, to close the gap between us, to say that I had missed it too, that I had missed you, but I didn't know if it was the truth. The time apart had changed me, had shaped me into someone who wasn't sure if I could pick up the pieces of our past and fit them together again. I've missed you too, I said finally, the words feeling foreign on my tongue, but it's different now. Things aren't the way they were. You turned to face me then, your gaze searching mine. There was no anger in your eyes, no bitterness, just sadness, regret, and something else I couldn't place. I know, you said quietly. I've thought about that a lot, and I'm not asking for things to go back to the way they were. I want a chance to make things right. I want to try. I looked away, trying to hide the emotions that had surged within me, the pain of all that had been lost, the uncertainty of what we could still salvage, the fear of being hurt again. But I couldn't deny the yearning inside me, the same yearning that had drawn me to you the moment we met again. You don't just get to pick up where we left off, I said, the words coming out more harshly than I intended. There's a lot of damage, a lot of hurt, and I don't know if I can just forgive it all. I don't expect you to, you replied, your voice steady, but there was a vulnerability in your eyes that made my heart ache. I just need you to know that I'm here and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. The silence between us grew heavy, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing at the edge of something big, something important. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to leap. I had lived so many years without you, had convinced myself that I didn't need you to be happy, that I could move on from the pain. But now, faced with the reality of what was being offered, I didn't know what to do with it. Let's take it slow, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. We can't just jump back into it. I need time to figure out what we mean now. You nodded, a soft smile tugging at the corners of your lips. I'll wait for as long as you need. And so we did. We took it slow. We talked, we shared, we laughed, and sometimes we sat in silence, letting the comfortable quiet between us remind us of the bond we had once shared. But it wasn't easy. There were moments when the past would surge to the surface uninvited, and we would find ourselves caught in the weight of our old wounds. There was a night, not long after we had started meeting again, when I found myself lying awake in bed, thinking about everything that had happened. The pain, the betrayal, the long years of silence. I had convinced myself that I could move on from it, that I didn't need to confront it head on, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been left unresolved. And so, after a restless night, I sent you a message. We need to talk. You responded almost immediately. I'm here. Let's meet. When I saw you later that day, I could see the concern in your eyes. You knew this wasn't just another simple conversation. There was something else there, something I had been carrying that I couldn't hold in any longer. Are you okay? You asked, your voice soft as we sat across from each other at our favorite cafe. I took a deep breath, letting the weight of everything settle in. No, I said quietly. I don't think I am. I don't think either of us has been okay for a long time. You didn't interrupt. You just sat there patiently letting me speak. I can't stop thinking about everything we went through, the hurt, the silence, the mistakes we both made, I continued. And I've been trying so hard to move past it, to pretend that I'm fine, that I'm over it. But I'm not. I know, you said, your voice filled with empathy. I haven't been okay either. I've spent so much time regretting how we ended, how I let things slip away. And I hate that I hurt you. I hate that you hurt me too, I whispered, my eyes brimming with unshed tears. But I also hate that we didn't try harder. We didn't fight for each other the way we should have. You reached across the table and took my hand in yours, your touch gentle, steady. I want to try again. I want to fight for us. I want to make it right. I squeezed your hand, feeling a spark of something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in so long, hope, the possibility of something real. Something that wasn't just a fantasy. Something that wasn't based on nostalgia or old promises. I don't know if we can fix everything, I said, my voice shaky but strong, but I'm willing to try. I want to know if we can build something new. And so, we began again. Slowly, cautiously, but with an understanding that we had both changed, that the people we were when we first met were no longer the same. The time apart had shaped us, had taught us things about ourselves we hadn't known. But maybe, just maybe, that was what we needed. We didn't rush. We talked about our past, our hurts, our regrets. We didn't sweep anything under the rug this time. We faced it all, with open hearts and raw honesty. And in the process, I found myself forgiving you, not just for the mistakes you had made, but for the ones I had made too. I had played my part in the downfall of us. I had let the silence take over, let it fester into something unspoken. And now, I was finally ready to speak. It wasn't easy. The road ahead was uncertain, full of potholes and detours. But for the first time in a long time, I believed that maybe we could find our way back to each other. Maybe we could rebuild what had been broken. Maybe this time we could make it work. And as we sat together in that quiet cafe hand in hand, I realized that love wasn't something you could force. It wasn't something you could control. But sometimes, if you were patient, if you were willing to face the past, you could find a way to make it work. And this time, I was ready to try.